What's up, everybody? This is Adam Kemper. I'm here with Andrew Rousseau. This is Pitch the World, episode 10. Andrew, you're running out of fingers, my friend.
I know. I don't know what to do anymore.
What are we going to do?
I got two kittens with a lot of paws.
Well, we'll introduce your kittens next episode. We're going to have our first episode featuring kittens.
I like it. They're on board.
I'm allergic to cats, so I don't know if that'll work.
That's all right.
So we took a couple of weeks off. That doesn't mean we weren't working on this or thinking about it. We just we had some coordination issues, but we're very excited to bring Jonathan Foltz, the co-founder of Pitch Investors Live, among many other things, to us on episode 10. And if you've watched our show before, you know that we cover a lot of different topics, including entrepreneurship, business, mentorship, mental health, sports. And we had some recent guests on blockchain to talk about blockchain and cryptocurrency. And Jonathan Foltz can kind of talk about all of those topics, which is kind of amazing. Jonathan happens to be one of my best friends, so I can talk about him on a personal level as well. I've known him for, what has it been, 20 years, Jonathan?
Dude, I can't believe it's been longer. It's like 22, 23 years or something crazy, dude. Or like 20 years, you were around there, 20. It's insane. So
for our viewers, this is really a show about just spilling all of John's dirty secrets for the past 20 years.
No, we don't have enough time for that, Drew. That'll take more than one episode, okay? But want to give a special shout out to Palmetto High School. If anybody is watching that went to Palmetto High School, that's where Jonathan and I both went, including Jeff Bezos. If Jeff, you're watching,
Bezos,
give us a shout out. All right, Palmetto High School. But to bring Jonathan back on, I know Drew's going to do a more formal introduction. I just want to say that I'm so happy to have you in this capacity, Jonathan, and really look forward to chatting with you on this. So awesome. Drew, take it away.
All right. Well, you know what? It's always a pleasure to have both of our fearless leaders on the show. We had Matthew Lally on towards the very beginning. And Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. And for our viewers, Jonathan is a guy you want to know. He is a futurist. He is a philosopher. He is an avid knowledge seeker who knows businesses. He started multiple companies in technology, education, e-commerce, and the digital space. He's built $3 million brands in completely 3 different industries, which is hard to do. You know, staying within an industry itself is tough, but knowing how to transition from one to the other and then translate that knowledge from one sector to another is just incredible. And John is our fearless leader. He is the co-founder and visionary behind Pitch Investors Live and Pitch the World. So Jonathan, welcome.
Yeah, awesome. Great to be here, guys. You know, when we first talked about like doing Pitch the World, I just thought it was going to be a great opportunity to just be able to get like entrepreneurs' message across. And then, you know, having 2 amazing guys being able to lead the effort on that side is like super amazing. So, you know, can't believe that we're already to like number 10. Super amazing. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, guys. Yep.
Absolutely. So, Jonathan, you know, I have known you for 20 plus years, and I could sort of tell your story about where I think you began your entrepreneurial journey. But I think it's important for you to tell the world. When did you realize you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And tell us about your first business.
All right. So, I mean, basically, like when it first started, I would have to say that when I was younger. Okay. So my parents basically got divorced when I was probably around, I would say like 12, 13 years old. And around that time, I mean, I was always like with my father and my mother, I was always kind of hungry. The cool thing about my father, he was an accountant, you know, for Texaco Chevron. And at the very early stages, one of the things that he used to do is, so he used to make us work hard as hell. that. That was one thing he used to make us do, like, because he used to grow up in the farm. So he would work so damn hard. So he kind of like had that type of mindset. So one of the things that he would do is he would make us work hard as hell. And then what he would do is he'd have a little accounting book. So he'd give us basically a weekly allowance, you know, that we'd make for working super hard. I'm talking about pulling weeds, you know, out in the grass, like it was crazy. And basically he would have that accounting book, and he would literally make us go and sign out when we wanted to buy stuff. So one of the things that I really loved is, like, I love buying baseball cards and basketball cards and everything like that. And Adam could probably remember some of this stuff. So I guess some of my first ventures were like, it was trying to sell these baseball and basketball cards, but the problem with that was that I always, every time I would do it, like, I would end up buying a box of cards, you know, from the borrowed money of my parents. And then I would just open all the damn cards because I was looking for the autographed cards myself. The obsession.
That's not
you remember?
true. I was very supportive. I bought a ton of cards from you. For sure.
You bought a ton.
That's where all your money came from.
And you were the only support system and I still failed in that endeavor. So one of the other parts that actually my first success, I guess, would come from, and this was like, I think 9th grade in Palmetto High School, actually. And this is when, in the days of like where everyone was basically making CDs and they're using Kazaa and all this stuff. Like nowadays, obviously you can't do that. It's very illegal, but nobody knew this back in the days. At the very beginning phases where like Napster and all this stuff. So all the kids in school were making each other CDs and stuff. So I got my hands on the Marshall Mathers LP, like ahead of time. So ahead of time, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be like great. This is huge. You know, everyone in school is basically just giving each other CDs. It was just like an insane time because this was such a revolutionary new way to like share music like we never could before, because you had to buy CDs. Now you could just make CDs off a whim. So like everyone around the school was just sharing these things. So when I found out about the Marshall Mathers LP was coming out, sorry, Eminem, I owe you a little bit of money out there. Sorry about that. But
and he's watching too. So
Eminem, I owe you big time.
Come after you for infringement.
Well, I was going to ask you, Drew, what is the statute of limitations on that, if you know?
Well,
yeah, what? Tell me. I'm with lawyers, so you guys got to tell me what's up.
Well, first off, I need that engagement letter signed. But two,
oh,
you know what? He just came out to the entire viewership on Facebook that he's one of those internet pirates.
Was.
Dude, was.
You know what? I heard he was in the Game of Thrones, and then all of a sudden I heard all these reports about Game of Thrones leaking. So, you know what, John? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. That was just the persona back then. I mean, everyone was kind of into it. So my first gauge, let's just say, of like little taste of success was basically when I made a whole bunch of these CDs. I was making them for friends, just like mixes and everything like that. You know what I mean? And when I made the Marshall Mathers LP, like back then, you'd basically have to wait 30 minutes to an hour for one CD. So it took me like a minute to just make all of these things. And I filled up my whole backpack and literally filled up my whole entire thing, went to school. And one of the really cool things that ended up happening is, like, as soon as I went to school, I literally sold every single one, like in no time. And that was my first glimpse of like actual success. I was like, holy shit, this is like crazy. And as soon as the second day came, literally the rest of the school had done the same exact thing. So everyone just came and they had the same exact CD. And it was like, that's how fast things move now that things are a little bit digital and everything like that. So from there, it was just like, holy smokes, like I can actually do stuff like this. So that went into my other endeavors and everything like that. You know, I ended up getting into like the reptile industry, but I started from there. That was the first glimpse that I was like, wow, I can make money on my own and I don't need my parents anymore. that like opened the doors for like so much more, to see that there's opportunity, you know, to build something out in the world. Yeah.
Do you feel that and I know you said it was, you know, your dad, you know, was tough in the sense of you had to work for what you wanted. As you were growing up and going through school, did you find that the parents were supportive with what you were doing? Did they push you to do better, do things differently? Or did you kind of feel like they were just kind of on the sidelines seeing how you were doing things?
Well, I mean, obviously my parents got divorced like 12, 13. So my dad wasn't there as much. he was a really good mentor, right? So my dad was like a very astute businessman too. So he was like a real estate investor. So he would give me takes here and there and good advice and everything like that. And then after the divorce, my mom became extremely entrepreneurial because after she ended up getting lots of money from my father, she made some very, not the best real estate decisions and everything. She ended up losing a lot of that money very quickly, especially towards like the crash. But even before the crash, she ended up losing the house. So she became extremely entrepreneurial. So I think it was because of my mom having to become very, very entrepreneurial. She even, one of the things that she ended up having is like she would go to shows to basically sell jewelry, and she was selling like neon lights and stuff. So I'd see basically her hustle. So I think a lot of the hustle that came from me was basically from my mom, because I saw how hard she was working and I actually had to help her, so like that was something that I think that was like very beneficial, to get my mind to be like, okay, where's opportunity? How do I talk to people? How can you conversate? What's a negotiation even look like? And my mom was actually pretty good. And she hadn't done that for probably 20 years. So she had to just out of bare necessity, like go out there and basically make money in different ways.
And I was actually going to bring that up, and I'm happy you did, Jonathan, because I remember, some of my earliest memories of our friendship are like the multitude of businesses that your mom was in, and like just hustling, like selling jewelry, doing photography, putting you guys in shows, and just promoting you guys too. And it was incredible. I mean, you were one of 5 kids, right?
Yeah. I was the firstborn of 5. Firstborn
of 5. So. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Being the firstborn and having 5 younger siblings. I mean, and your parents went through a divorce. I mean, did you have to sort of pick up some additional responsibilities from that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say some of my leadership skills today come from having to lead my little brothers and sisters and such. So I definitely think that was like a big part of it. So when my parents did get divorced and everything like that, I did have to be like more of a support system and almost a little bit, I would say at sometimes even like a fatherly role, right? So I had to basically guide him in the right direction. And because my father wasn't there, most of the time, like I took on a little bit of some of the tasks and just being able to guide them in the right direction. Like when they had problems, how can I help them resolve these things? They needed some help with some homework. Okay, how can I actually help them with this? So I guess that definitely like helped out with some like leadership skills and everything like that. Being the firstborn and because of, having to take care of them too,
And I got a follow up to that, and it's gonna kind of put you on the spot, not personally, but just generally the question. Education. And this is something I've been thinking about the past few days, actually. What, in your mind, do you believe education is key to being an entrepreneur? Does everybody have to go to college or grad school or law school to be successful in this, or a trade school? Because there's a lot of people I've come across recently that I personally have just learned that they've dropped out, or they went through school and it was boring and they just weren't interested. They thought they could do so much more. What do you think about something like that?
Being that I love education, I have a very strong opinion on this. And I believe that in the future too, this is going to shift so hard. It's not even funny. I mean, me, myself, I even have a course outside of the regular schooling system to teach you how to make money online. So I'm obviously a big advocate, and I'll probably be a little bit biased, but I would have to say that I see a lot of the people, including my family members and friends, get into a ton of debt. And sometimes they go into schooling and everything like that. And then they realize like, oh shit, this is not even what I want to do. This is not something that I really want to do. And guess what? I just spent $100,000 and I just wasted 2 to 3 years, potentially maybe all 4 years, potentially more, depending how far you want to go. And in today's day and age, I'm seeing people with no educations learning and getting a digital degree, as I would call it, online, through finding out something you absolutely love to do and making tremendous amounts of money. So to me, it's like there's a huge shift happening on the planet, that the learning curve can basically be bent very highly. And secondly, you can really work on what you really love. So, one of the things I tell Adam about a lot is like values. you know, and Drew, you'll hear me talk about this further along the road, is like values. So what is it that you truly value? What's your purpose here? And basically align yourself with that. Sometimes you go to school because your parents told you this, or school's telling you this, or this is why you make the most money. And to me, like that to me is one of the stupidest things that people could do, is literally going to do something only for the money. Money is important, 100% it is, but to me, has to be purpose driven, and the digital space is now allowing that in education. Yeah, which is great.
And education itself can come in so many shapes and forms. I mean, it's, you know, you think of traditional schooling as one form of education, and as kids, you know, you basically don't have a choice, right? And what you do beyond that, that's your choice. You know, go to college, go to graduate school, etc. But you also get education by other means, and you get education through experience, you know, learning and actually paying attention to what's going on, and having those life experiences, making those mistakes, and learning from them. And Jonathan, I'm sure through, you know, your various endeavors, you've learned a lot along the way through those experiences.
Oh yeah. I mean, experience is the key, you know, like, and by no means am I trying to throw school off. I know it was Thomas Edison that said, Thomas Edison said that school was not intended to teach you things. It was intended to help you learn how to think. And to me, that's one of the important things about school, where it's like you're getting more of a roundabout knowledge sphere of exactly where it is that you need to go. And, you know, you get to conversate with a lot of people. Networking is huge in schooling also, especially college and universities. But very important, I think, that schooling these days is going to be shifted into a whole different direction based around, like, you know, what you love to do and everything like that. Yeah.
That's where a lot of the smart technology is starting to come in too. Adam, I know you and I have had conversations about this, where how can smart tech and IoT come into the education sector for specialized education and narrowly tailored education? If you are focused on that entrepreneurial path or that legal path, or, you know, whatever it is, I think technology's headed that way.
Yeah, I mean, right now with what's happening, I usually wear a thing. I ended up giving it to my business partner when we went to Thailand, but it says digital revolution. And the reason I've worn that consistently for about like almost 3 years, I think now, and I've been talking about this probably for like 7 or 8 years, is that there's a digital revolution happening. And exactly like you just said, Drew, like it's going to be through IoT, nanotechnology. One of the things that me and Adam talked about too is artificial intelligence. Right. So the way that we're going to learn is going to be completely shifted in another manner. And here's the thing, too. It's like we're no longer is it about IQ anymore. Like people think that the people with the highest IQs are the people that are going to be the smartest, or they're going to be the ones that make the most money and everything like that. But actually, that's completely shifting. And it's the people that are going to have the highest AQ, adaptability quotient.
Adaptability.
So your ability to adapt in this new day and age, I'm going to tell you right now, far exceeds any intelligence and any what you want to believe, like book smarts and everything like that. Your ability to adapt with how fast things are starting to move, and it's way faster than they are going to start moving, is going to be like a winning component in this new day and age.
Adaptability. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I knew you were going there, and I'm happy you did, because adapting is just so freaking important. To the times, like you said, the times are moving quickly. New technology is coming out daily. There's a new way to service people, okay? And you can service people in so many different ways, but you need to learn how to adapt to be able to service people in like the most efficient and effective ways. So this is a medium today that Drew and I have both learned how to use to be able to service our viewers with people such as yourself, Jonathan, that are providing incredible value to our audience today. And this isn't something that was around, you know, a year ago, but we've adapted to it, and our viewers are adapting to learning this way as well.
Well, that's what the digitization of music has done, as John pointed out at the very beginning. Is all three of us have grown up watching this revolution start and take off. I mean, we were there before the smartphone. We were there when music stopped, you know, when you stopped carrying CD players People. I mean, I remember that. You had that clear red or blue CD player. You took it in the
And
backpack.
it skipped. Remember, it skipped.
Yeah.
if you'd have a clean CD, you're in trouble, basically.
And, we've watched the progress go. And then when social media came around, I've mentioned this several times. I had a Zynga, which came before MySpace. And you just watch how these platforms have evolved over time and how interaction has evolved from picking up a phone to just digital, and where we are now to where we're able to do this, as Adam said, you would never fathom this at all.
No.
And,
like one of the things that Bill Gates, one of my favorite quotes from Bill Gates actually is that he says, we tend to overestimate the next 2 years, but we always underestimate the next 10. So just think about it, like where we were like 10 years ago and like what we're doing now and the power that's just like literally in our cell phones. Like if you were to tell us like the things that we were doing 10 years ago would be here, you'd be like, okay, that's impossible. There's no way you'd be able to have video conferencing with like 20 people at one time on a cell phone and like download stuff simultaneously, and have Bluetooth with wireless headphones. They'd be like, yeah, right. There's no way.
I told you he was still torrenting music, probably as we're speaking.
I'm torrenting this video live right now, guys.
No, but this whole discussion is a perfect segue into Pitch Investors Live. And I think it's so valuable that Pitch Investors Live have such a forward thinker, such as yourself, Jonathan, and someone that's so into tech, thinking of the future, thinking of new ways to be able to service people and to give people opportunities and chances, and how that all sort of plays into Pitch Investors Live. So can you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're very lucky, like here at Pitch, because even Matthew Lally, they had the originating idea of this. I was just blown away when I heard about it, and I knew the good thing that I thought about it too. I was like, holy smokes, this is what I thought to myself. I was like, this is like Kickstarter meets Shark Tank meets online dating. And it's live streaming. And one of the companies that I actually sold in 2016, and one of the reasons that I got the evaluation that I did was because I had created a system that was very much about scarcity, and it was auctions on Facebook. And I created that, and it basically created a lot of residual income. And in that marketplace, what it ended up doing is it took all the classifieds from back in the days and it switched them to live auctions. So to me, it was a huge shift, and everyone hated it in the beginning. They're like, oh my God, you guys can't do this. Can't be classified. It's got to stay on classifieds.
They didn't understand it.
They did not understand it at all. And then now fast forward to today. So there's two revolutionaries. It was like myself and a guy named Ben Siegel at the time, and everyone hated us in the beginning. And then everyone started hopping on board, but people still couldn't understand it. And in due time, now fast forward today in that same marketplace, literally, that's how everyone basically sells their products and everything like that. So I was like, when I heard about this, and I also paid close attention to what's happening with Facebook. When I first heard about this idea, it was actually called 2UP, and it was basically two people that would go live and they would debate each other, and it was a clash of ideas. And I was going to help Matt out basically with the marketing, but I was like, you know what? Now's not the time. He couldn't really get it going. He had switched it into Pitch Investors Live, and I just saw what we could create with this, and I saw the future because in the investment space. And, for entrepreneurs in general, it's so freaking hard to make it. You know what I mean? Like you always hear accounts that say like 9 out of 10 startups fail. Okay. That number is way bigger. Okay. It's probably 9.8 startups fail out of 10. Okay. So like it dwarfs that number even bigger. And some people say even higher than that. So we came and we're like, okay, what could we do to have and solve a lot of these issues that are happening? Because one of the biggest issues for these startups is that first of all, they don't have enough education. Second of all, they're not in the right places like Silicon Valley, Tel Aviv, New York, Singapore, where basically there are investment hubs. There's accelerators everywhere. So we're like, okay, how could we instantly match entrepreneurs, inventors, businessmen of all kinds directly with investors? That don't even have to be just investors. They can actually be advisors to their company. They can give them information about what they can do with their business. They can give them basically connections to the place they need to go, or they could give them the one thing that a lot of these people want is funding. So we're like, how do we instantly match make these people and bring it to the world? So for me, when I heard about this, and we wanted to bring in like the whole blockchain aspect into it, because there is a lot of flaws in how the world enacts today. And one of the things that blockchain does, it makes things transparent. It puts everything on the blockchain so you know exactly what's happening. Because on a lot of these deals and these contracts that are happening, they lie. People lie. Like, people lie about what they're doing. People lie about the type of stuff that they're up to. People lie, guys. People actually lie out there.
Hey, us lawyers never lie. I don't know what
So just imagine for a second that you're putting everything transparent on the blockchain. So now, let's say, for example, this is future thinking right now. So I'm showing you how it's going to look in the future. So we will be able to have these projects tell you everything that has been happening. So when the investor, all I have to do is basically tap into the blockchain to see where they're at, what they've actually done. Are the founders even real? Because you guys saw, there's a lot of people that basically will fake out some of the people that are on the team just to make themselves look better. So it's like, how do you tap into those type of things? And then secondly, adding a cryptocurrency, or at least a digital asset, to be able to be exchanged in a right way. Obviously, if they pass all regulations and everything like that. And that's what the world is basically going through a phase right now. So, because we thought of, let's say there's a genius child in Nigeria, which, by the way, there's some genius people out there. Like, there's one guy that we were working with, and this was amazing. The guy out of Nigeria had a laptop. Okay, he has a laptop. He works. He's a genius engineer / developer. His laptop is made out of 17 parts of different computers, guys. Okay, he charges his thing through, like, it's like a solar powered or something like that. He doesn't have regular connection, and he gets online and he's basically doing deals and actually making all kinds of cool developments and softwares for people around the world. And he's in Nigeria. You know what I mean? So for us, it's like, what about if there is that genius child out of Nigeria, South Africa, or if they're, out of India or out of Venezuela, which is having hyperinflation happen in their country, and they have a genius idea, but now they can actually get in front of an investor. Okay, so pretend that a single mother in Venezuela can actually pitch an investor out of New York. Okay, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but this is really sad to say, but in Venezuela, their average income monthly over there is like $12 to $20 a month. It's insane. I couldn't even believe it when I first heard it. So it's like, these people are not making a lot of money. What do you think $1,000 will do for someone like that? An investor in New York, that's nothing for him. Okay, so imagine that he's able to transfer over that money as a live pitch is actually happening into basically this person that you're already going to have a little bit more information of, because a lot of their information is out in the blockchain, and they want to give this person an opportunity. To me, that's basically the flattening of the world. And that's what I see coming. Like 100%, you're going to see the flattening of the world, and these opportunities are now going to be spread out. So from when they were huge, like venture capitalists here in Silicon Valley, huge inside of New York, but what happens to the rest of the cities around the United States? Like, they're bare to minimum, and some of these people have way better ideas than some of the people in Silicon Valley, and they're not getting the opportunity. So we wanted to instantly match make these people and give them the opportunities that they never had before. One real cool stat that I'm going to add in there, and this is what like even got me, had my head spinning even more, is that Shark Tank has over 100,000 people a year basically try out, and only 88 of them get picked. That means that 0.1% of these, and these are people in the major cities that have to wait in line. So how many people in the United States are actually wanting to have their idea taken out to the world? Like, imagine, it's a lot.
It's all about visibility too, and having the courage to get out and stand in that line, because a lot of these good ideas go unnoticed. And you step into a line, you don't get called, but you know what? That encourages you to say, you know what? If they don't want to spend the time, or there wasn't enough time, maybe I need to go look into other ways. And guess what? Boom, pitch, or boom, all this other technology. So it's definitely a gateway. And I think your experiences with traveling, I mean, it enlightens a lot of people. And I think traveling is a big part of it too, if you have the means to do it, but not everybody does. Technology.
Yeah. And
I was just going to say, I mean, in short, it reduces the barrier of entry. Literally anybody can use this, and anybody can pitch anybody else from anywhere in the world. There is no such thing that exists out there, right, Jonathan, along with this technology. To me, I mean, it's a no-brainer. The question I have for you, Jonathan, is how do the masses begin to realize that there is the opportunity of Pitch Investors Live? How do you reach the masses? And how do you give people those chances that, to me, make sense for so many people and can solve so many problems?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, with us, it basically starts with awareness. The cool thing about what we've been able to create is that when we have investors actually come on the platform, and then they're literally blown away. They're like, what in the world just happened? This was so cool. You know, like when we first, like when I was able to like first see like a pitch go live or like be active in a pitch going live, I was so blown away. And, you know, this technology was actually available before, when it was before Facebook Live existed. But Facebook Live did exist when I first like saw, like when we had one of our first pitches go up, and I was just like, what in the world? And you can see how crazy excited the entrepreneur got when they were able to like actually give a pitch to an investor and have that all happen in the communication and people watching and ask questions and everything. So for us, it's like now what we're figuring out, and you know, we've been basically going through a lot of like trials and tribulations, good and bad. So basically figured out things that do work, figured out things that didn't work, figuring out things of the sort of that are called the platform effect. So the platform effect is something that basically tells you how fast connections can happen, and that's why you'll see like Uber, you'll see Airbnb, all these the other one, what's it called, Bird, that $1 billion company in 6 months or something like that. So all these, what they're doing is they're creating massive traction and a lot of network connections. And what we're going to be able to do with this is that we're going to have more and more people basically come on the platform. And the more that people start taking pitches, they start sharing it with their networks. You know, we not only put it on our app, we also go on Facebook, we go on YouTube. We're thinking about going into Instagram lives coming up in the future. And we have actually some super crazy, I may expose one or two things like on the show that we weren't supposed to talk about. We have some huge updates in technology. I might expose some stuff on there.
That's all right. We're cool with that. I mean, you're just talking to the pitch the world world. So
yeah.
By all means,
and all of our other torrenters that are watching as well.
Yeah, so I will expose this because we do have something very important coming out information wise. But one of the things that I was so blown away with was a company, one of our advisors, he was an angel investor to ideas.me, which is one of the largest, if not the largest crowdfunding platform in South America. And as I found out more, we're going to do strategic partnership. We're finding out what's going on. And then one day I get a bomb and I was like, there's no way this is possible. There's no way. They basically told me that this crowdfunding platform is a philanthropist platform, and all the money given to these projects is given for nothing. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, so you're telling me this is like one of the biggest crowdfunding platforms in the world, and there's no exchange, there's no services, there's no products, there's no equity, you're not buying into their company? And they're like, no, this is completely given. So I was like, holy smokes. The second cool thing about that is that he said that they actually went to them and asked all the philanthropist investors, if you want to call them, hey, would you guys like to start getting equity? You know, we think we're going to switch the model so that you guys can get incentivized. And there was an overwhelming no, that they do not, that they just want to give this money. So as we've basically had our technology evolve, you know, we basically started some really cool smart contract stuff. We have something coming out basically called atomic swaps, but we haven't been able to release it because obviously there's regulations behind it and everything like that. So we're basically taking it easy and making sure that we're doing everything to regulation. But as this is happening and we're having friction in that manner and it's extremely expensive, one of the things that came up is like, wait a second, we can actually use this technology, but we can just allow people to give. So why not start a tipping system? So we're like, why don't we allow anyone and everyone to tip both the investor and the entrepreneur?
Wow.
So imagine the mom that is basically having a pitch, and any of us can basically be able to pitch and put, actually not just pitch, we'll be able to actually tip the entrepreneur that is pitching. And I was like, holy smokes, this is crazy.
It's like, get rid of the Facebook likes, the thumbs up and all that. And instead of the like, it's like, I support you, but I really support you. Like, I really care.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So imagine.
I was going to say, in that other platform, I mean, it seems like there's a pretty good indicator that people want to support other businesses. And there's not always ways that you can invest what the entrepreneur is seeking, let's say, or the investor maybe wants to be, given some love every once in a while. But, the tipping feature, that's incredible. Can you tell us like well, when do you think that might be implemented? If you can share that.
With the media, so start.
Okay, don't answer that question.
Just kidding.
I mean, here's the thing. Let me explain a little bit something about it, and I'm going to be posting something soon. I also have a Medium channel that I started. I posted like 15 of my articles in there. One went viral, and then I think now like it's like 500,000 members. Startup community wants me to post for them, and I'm going to be posting it inside there, probably on my Facebook page and everything. So you'll see more about this. I am leaking some of this information ahead of the time, though, a little bit ahead. But the technology for the tipping already exists. Okay, so it's already there. We're just making it sexier. So we're basically making it sexier. That's like one very important piece of it. And then secondly, we do have the atomic swaps have actually been launched out on mainnet. So as you guys know, it goes through, if those familiar with the blockchain community and everything like that. So first it goes on testnet, test some stuff out, make sure everything's going well. Then you go on mainnet, and then, we fix some of the bugs in there. We just haven't been able to release it. So we also started something. It was pretty funny because Matt was actually working on some payment channels to basically swap tokens back and forth from people, just as giving, like just giving back to people on these like payment channels and such. And it was just a feature that's like, hey, they could just give it to each other. And for upcoming for what we want to create, as long as we get the go ahead from legal and everything to be able to launch out the stuff with everything that we have to do. And I thought to myself, I was like, wow, like one of the things that started to become big in the underground world and into it was gaming. So gaming, they do tipping also. And I was like, dude, why don't we do tipping? And I was like, this is like freaking the next evolution of us to do it. We can't launch out right now the whole atomic swap feature. So why don't we allow tipping on the platform? And it was funny because he had already started building it out without even knowing it. So we're like, what the hell? This is crazy. Like, how did this just like happen? It was kind of like that synergy / like super sync. Yeah, it was crazy synchronicity. Like it was just like crazy. And we're like, wow, this is like just the next evolution for us. And I'm just, as you can tell, I'm super psyched up about it because I think it's a game changer, because what's happening in South America is an indicator of like, people just want to give also. So it's not just only about taking a product, service, or potentially equity in a company or something like that. It's like, hey, I actually want to give. And I think to myself sometimes that I hear a really good pitch or I hear really good information from a shark. Why can't I just live them a tip? Why can't I?
Because they have enough money, they don't need it. What a cool concept, and what a concept that you really. And again, I'm going to go back to the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the Instagram. We all have the like buttons and the dislike buttons. I still, to each their own. But for entrepreneurs, put something behind it, and I think that's really the way to go, especially from an entrepreneur to another entrepreneur. If you're watching, Adam, you're watching John do something, you guys have been friends 20 years and you like what he's doing, why wouldn't you want to do that, or vice versa,
Yeah. Or imagine on the show, they could tip Drew and Adam.
Damien, if you're running back scenes, we'd like some money.
Definitely. No, I mean, you know what? The whole tipping idea, it's a good gesture for people to be able to give, because a lot of people enjoy giving. It also incentivizes the entrepreneur, the person pitching, to do a great job, and the investor too, to know that there's engagement going on. And that's what Pitch Investors is about. I mean, one of the features is that you can actually engage directly with the audience, unlike a Shark Tank, unlike a Dragon's Den. On Pitch Investors Live, there is participation from the audience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we figured out that was like really crazy to us is that we thought that like matching up our startups, entrepreneurs with the investors, that, more deals would be happening between them. And what we've come to find is that a lot of the deals are not happening between them. It's happening by the audience members. So we actually have a lot of investors on there. There's marketers that are like, you know what, I like your idea. What can I do to basically, can I take some equity in your company? I'll do all your marketing for you. That's a huge cost. marketing is super expensive. If you want it done it right, and an entrepreneur that is bootstrapping, how in the world are you supposed to afford being able to go into everything? Maybe moonlighting because you have a job in the daytime is really hard for you. So all of a sudden now you have all these people reaching out to you, and you have all these opportunities like never before. It's crazy. It's way different. The opportunities are coming from the engagement, like you're talking about, Adam.
And the passion that we see, you've been, obviously we can see your passion. I'm sure our viewers can see your passion. You're happy. Why are you so happy when there's other people out there that are struggling to enjoy what it is they're doing? And the foundation behind this is Adam and I are very, and look, he's even laughing. Why is he laughing?
Because Adam knows. Adam knows, that's why.
Well, there you go. We're big in the idea about having a strong mindset. And Adam and I have done a couple episodes where we've actually had some experts on the show to talk about mental health and what that means for not just your business, but for your personal life. And I know you're big into this, John, as well. You've watched our stuff. What does mental health mean to you? How does having a strong mindset with everything you've done, how does that translate into your personal life and vice versa?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could tell Adam knows that we like to speak about this subject right here a lot. And this is actually believe it or not, this is actually one of my favorite subjects by far. So when you talk about, like, I'm an avid knowledge seeker, I love human behavior, and I love psychology, and I love mindset. So with that, I believe that, like mental health and being able to have a solid, mind is so vital to being able to be positioned correctly for the future. And a lot of times all it really is, and this is what's happening also, and this is obviously a little bit controversial and everything like that. And I think that if we look back about 100 years, and one of the things that we used to do to mental health patients and stuff like that is to zap them, right? So we used to zap them in the head, and basically that was to get them better and everything like that. So in my opinion, I think that a lot of things that we are doing today in our medical field and everything like that is very similar to what it was, and we will come to find in the next, I would say even in the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to come to find that a lot of the stuff that we're doing today was just totally wrong. And a lot of it just comes down to one of my favorite subjects by far. And I'm such an advocate, and it's going to be so important in the next 10 to 20 years also. It's called axiology. And the study of axiology is basically the study of values and purpose. And a lot of individuals, and obviously there's so many different ways that this can go, but a lot of people that you would say that can get depressed, and there's anxiety, some mental issues, I'm not going to go far into all of them. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that are actually biological and physical, but a lot of these actually are, all it is the perception. And one of the studies that I love, the reason I love this so much, is something that actually Aristotle used to talk about, and it was based off teleology. So he would call something your telos. So your telos was basically the end in mind. So if you want to call it your purpose, if you want to call it exactly what you needed to do, like everyone had different names for this, like Grant Cardone is like, be obsessed about something, that one thing, be obsessed. Napoleon Hill would talk about this, like that one intricate thing that you want to go by. And all these different teachers teach the same thing, but it all alludes to the same exact thing. It's like, what is your purpose? I mean, why are you even here? And the more that you get to understand what your purpose and your highest values are, that kind of gets you in line and keeps a very solid mindset. So when I actually do consulting with businesses, I've been an advisor to many companies, nonprofits and everything like that. Usually when I have a business come to me, usually I end up working on the individual a little bit and just helping them align their values. So once you can align their values, teach them or help them understand what more of their purpose is, all of a sudden their business snaps into place. They start making more money. And I literally didn't even touch the business. I didn't even look at the business. I just helped them gain a solid mindset. And that solid mindset based on axiology, learning your values and learning your purpose, literally that's where the genius comes out. And that's where you'll see, one of the things I love to say is that when you're truly inspired and you're fulfilled with everything going on, you go to sleep with energy, you wake up with energy, you literally don't even have to sleep that much. And that right there is like true power, like understanding those factions. And I think that does help resolve, a lot of sometimes mindset issues that one may perceive they have, and all it is a misalignment of the values.
Well, you have to love what you do.
Yes. Oh, you have to.
And you have to be open to someone telling you that what you're saying is wrong too. If there are any fans out there that watch the show Billions, the number 2 character on that show is a clinical psychologist that helps the main character, Bobby Axelrod, and helps the whole organization keep someone with so much power, someone who's running a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, in line and straight. And he is so successful at what he does, or is depicted that way, a lot because of how he relies on his right-hand person, who is the clinical psychologist. And he's open to listening to this person. So I think it's great that the mainstream is becoming more open to like the issues of mental health and how that can really help the individual out. And more people, sort of need to take it upon themselves to get themselves educated, to be open to it, and to get the help.
Yeah. Look at Adam throwing in HBO. They should be happy they're getting some free promo in this too.
Billions is one of my favorite shows, so I'm happy to promote it. It's a great show.
Sponsors. We need some sponsors in here, guys.
Yeah, if you're watching, that's good.
Yeah. I agree. I'm a big advocate too of being open-minded. You know what I mean? So like one of the things that we actually look for, like I've hired hundreds and hundreds of people, and one of the things that I look for probably more than anything, and actually sometimes more than like skill sets, is like an open mind. Like if you're open to listening to critique, you're open to seeing how you can do things differently, and you're open-minded in general, that's a great sign that you're going to be able to have a great evolution in your journey. Those that are just kind of like, and they're very hard-headed, it's a lot harder to be able to get in there. And as you say, like it makes sense that billionaire guy has to have someone in track to help him out.
He wants to. He wants to. He doesn't have to. I mean, if you watch the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's pretty incredible. Someone that is so set in their ways in so many ways, but then can be open to critique and listening to somebody else. I think that's powerful.
It's a necessary skill in today's world, and if you don't have that skill, you will fail in whatever endeavor you do. And it's a harsh reality, but it's a reality.
Yeah. I mean, that's why in medieval times, and go back to ancient times, like the king and people of power had good advisory teams around them, because you can't do it by yourself. So you have to have people around you that are there also for the common goal, right? So it's like very important that you're there for the same common goal, and there is an alignment. One of our advisors, actually, he says something very interesting, Reese Jones, right? So I love that he says this, because he said this to me a few times already. And he's like, the eye has to be on the prize, right? So where is it that you're trying to get to? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Like we want to reach, millions, multi-millions, if not billions of people, and help and support them. And if no one is in line, if the people around you are not in line with that same goal, you're going to be shooting at different trajectories and stuff like that. But if everyone's in the same line, then basically that's what creates the cohesion that's going to make you exponentially grow, in a much faster territory that we're in today, because it's all digital now. So like the growth and change can be so quick now, it's not even funny. And that's what we're starting to see, these last 5 years.
When you have a bad day, because we all have bad days, stress, and this is still with mental health, what is a bad day for you? How do you handle that? How do you react personally when your mind is not as open in a moment? What do you do? Where do you go?
So basically I've learned some techniques. So yeah, we definitely all have bad days. Like sometimes I'm definitely like I could even be in like, what the hell am I doing? I'm not even sure.
That's where he starts downloading 2 gigs of music.
Nowadays I pay for Pandora, I pay for YouTube, I pay for all that stuff now. But I pay for it all.
Shots because he's connected with a lot of artists, so I get where you're coming from, Drew.
Well, I have to tell them, yes, I used to torrent your music, but now I purchase it, have Apple Music, Spotify. I pay for it too, but
we pay for it all in a different way, and that's what happened. There's a guy, and I'm going to come back to your question. The guy used to say, he's like, friction is fiction, and as long as you put all this friction in front of people, they're always going to go to the way of less friction, and then that's why all these like outlets come out and everything. But to answer your question, Drew, So yeah, definitely. I have sometimes days where I'm doubting myself 100%. And some of the things that I like to do is I love to actually meditate. Okay, so I will definitely like get present. I will meditate. I'll take a look at that type of stuff. And one of the things that works really well, like I have some strategies, and I can't go into it because they take a little bit longer. But whenever I have something that's very challenging in my life, and I'm like, oh, like why is this happening right now? Like, why is something like this? And what I do is I'll take that challenging component and I'll see the benefit in it. And then I'll come up with another benefit for it. And I'll actually write it down, and I'll actually come up with the benefits until I reach a state of gratitude. And that right there can be something really amazing, because it basically will shift you very quickly into like this challenging component in your life actually being something that you can be grateful for, and you see why it's actually there. Because I'm a huge believer in basically the yin and the yang, and there's balance, so with every bad thing possible, there's something great on the other end. So if you can't see greatness in every obstacle or challenge, all it is a lopsided perspective. So the way that I look at things are completely different. So when something challenging comes up, it's like, okay, why did this happen? And what is this teaching me? And what's the benefit? And as soon as I reach the other side of the benefit, it basically shatters it. And it's kind of like a little bit of like a collapse. There's a few teachers that teach this stuff, but I would say like one of the ones that I'm a big advocate of for anyone that wants to look into it. I believe these are some of the best teachings on the planet right now. And it's from the DeMartini Institute. I'm also an institute member there. And it's basically from Dr. John DeMartini. So the Values Factor is like a tremendous book that teaches about the balance in your values and such like that. But that would be one of my best techniques to do that. Like I have my own way of doing it, and then getting present and just really being grateful for everything that's happening in my life. Gratitude, I think, is a big component. Like the more gratitude, if you start just shouting out all the things that you can be grateful for, all of a sudden then you just shift around and you're like, okay, why am I even pissed off about this? Or why am I so, sad about this? Or like, why am I like this? And those things are like big components that I think would help shift me. Sometimes it doesn't happen right away, but if I do a good enough collapse, that'll happen pretty quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you guys too.
Yeah, definitely a lot of love in the room that we're in online.
The digital room.
So we're coming up on 7:00, and we just want to be mindful of everybody's time, and we wanted to see if the audience wanted to ask any questions. I did want to ask you one more question, just because you brought it up in terms of your team, and Drew and I are both lawyers, so we wanted to see, what you thought about the value of having a strong legal team, having good legal advisors around you when you're running a business. And even though there's a price tag with it, we are freaking expensive, but there is value in that. So can you just touch on that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really important subject. So obviously being in the business world for a pretty long time, I've had a lot of companies. I've gotten into all kinds of stuff in the past. Like, first of all, there's people that have basically come after us for stuff that you would never expect for no reason, and lawyers are needed and that type of stuff. And one of the things I learned is to be more preventative, right? So being preventative, and sometimes that's why you need lawyers to help you out. So especially in the space that we're entering now. So like, this is like a brand new field, like entering into the world of like cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, fintech. There's security laws, the SEC is involved, there's like FINRA and everything like that. So for us, we have spent a lot of money on legal, but to be perfectly honest, it helps me sleep better at night. It helps me sleep better at night, because that you have basically a backing that's going to help you get through all the trials and tribulations, and they have the information that you don't. And if anyone wants to play a bigger game, you have to deal with lawyers. You have to. So it's good to find someone. I'm very blessed that I have one of my old best friends that happens to also be, helping with the lawyers.
I definitely set that up.
and there's one more, and I'm blessed also very much so to have found Drew, like out of spare coincidence and everything. Me and him had a conversation, because he actually wrote one of our Forbes articles.
Blushing. I could see the
and we connected very well. And then that started, he actually brought a really crazy idea, which helped me like expand my also notion with what is possible with our platform. Yes, yes, and everything like that. So it's like, I've been very blessed in that notion to have, a couple of awesome lawyers that can also potentially give us, some notions and ideas here and there. But I would say in general, like having, like Adam be a little bit of a liaison with our securities lawyer at Greenspoon and Morton and everything like that has been like a huge benefit and everything like that. So it's like, if you want to play a big game, you just have to stay tight with everything that's going on and be preventative so that nothing comes and just hits you over the head. That's the last thing that people want in a business, and it could literally take somebody down.
Well,
So
it's like cybersecurity, and thank you for your kind words. It's like with cybersecurity, whether you're talking with Robert Herjavec or whoever it is. It's not if, it's when. You're going to have an issue as an entrepreneur, as a company, and you want to be sure that you are prepared to have somebody who is able to answer those questions in that capacity. So it's not always, oh, crap, we're going to get sued. It's what happens when somebody calls us out on something that maybe we're not aware of, or somebody has a question that we're not prepared to answer. Legal means a lot of different things. It's not always a defensive. So great point.
And another plug for Billions.
Billions, you guys owe us money. You guys owe us.
Either that or Adam's secretly part of the screen credits.
Well, whatever. Billions is a great show, so I encourage people to watch it. But Bobby Axelrod also has his lawyer all around too. I mean, he's a major contributor to the show. So definitely got to have a strong legal team with you when you have your business endeavor. Want to just turn to the audience. Do we have any questions for Jonathan? I know there's about 5 or so minutes left before 7. And
he is accepting dates.
And he's smiling, but he's not saying no.
No dates. No dates. Yeah. All right. So I see there's 60 comments on here, but I can't. For some reason, I can't go and see them all, guys.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we is there a way to see?
Damien typically brings them up.
Internet providers find out and they block your connection.
Yeah. They're gone, right? Yeah. So let's see.
All right. Well, typically Damien puts them up, but we may have some questions later as well, because a lot of people watch this after the live.
Someone did ask about here. There's one question I see here. So someone asked about Kickstarter, and then they were asking what are the other funding platforms called or something like that. So Kickstarter is one of the biggest ones. Another really big one I would say would probably be Indiegogo. And then the one that we were actually talking about was ideas.me. So now there's a bunch of other ones coming into the space. So there's WeFunder, Republic. It's actually becoming a big space. There's a lot of these companies are actually being acquired, and some of the bigger startup companies, I believe that they're going to be trying to acquire some of these higher tech companies, so you're just going to see some of these really well recognized, $1 billion, into the hundreds of millions of dollars. They're going to start acquiring these companies that are in the startup space, that they have, more evolving technologies and everything like that, because they got to keep up. So it just takes to see who's actually going to be able to survive, thrive in the environment, and basically lock heads with a big conglomerate or a bigger size company.
I mean, hell, you mentioned Republic. Republic is, you got Kenny, who I know, who's a former general counsel for Angels List.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, there's a lot of big names out there, you guys, that are part of this space and projects that you may not be aware of, which is interesting, because I think everyone's kind of playing the field, lying in wait, seeing what works. And you're going to see some really interesting acquisitions and mergers, giving life to M&As again.
Yeah. Exactly. 100%. So here's a question. I don't know if you guys want to read that.
Yeah. So we have a question here. It says, to ensure the process is efficient, do you have coaching process or suggestions for what a creator business needs to have ready for their pitch?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, Adam, do you know any of that? Or do you want me to answer that?
I was just going to say I think it kind of leads into the accelerator program. And maybe you could talk a little bit about how that works for pitch and how that might help people before they're ready to pitch.
Yeah. So one of the questions that we have a lot is that, like, what does it take to get ready for a pitch? So everyone wants to be ready because, like, they're like, wow, if I'm actually going to be pitching an investor, like, if I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't want to look bad. I don't want to say the wrong things. It's going to be on a live, you know. But we kind of push people to go a little bit faster. But yes, we do have a process and a coaching process for this. So just with even some of our smallest packages, and I'm talking about our stuff is so cheap, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Just like an entry package is like $97. We actually give people a 30-day free trial into our accelerator program. But I would say the process that we give you is that we have a 10-step to a perfect PDF to a 10-step to a perfect pitch video series by Kevin. So Kevin, if you guys don't know who Kevin Harrington is, he's one of the team members on Pitch, and basically he has done 50,000. He has taken, 50,000 pitches. You know, he's the guy that, yeah, like you see the numbers, yeah, it's crazy, like 50,000. When I heard that, I was just like flabbergasted when I heard that. And he's also done billions of dollars in deals and everything like that. So he basically did a 10-step to a perfect pitch video series with a PDF for it. There's a worksheet to teach you a little bit more about that. So it's like we wanted to take it to another level because we're like, okay, we're giving these people all this information. We're teaching them how to pitch. They can watch all the pitches on the platform. They can watch the videos. They can see which ones have been successful and everything like that. But how do we take it to a whole nother level so people feel super comfortable? And we just want more people pitching. So like, why not have people pitching 24/7? And then some people not just pitch one time, but why not pitch 4 or 5 times to different investors and getting their idea out to the world, getting funding for their operation, getting strategic partnerships for what it is that they're doing.
There's no downside.
Yeah, there's no downside. So we start an accelerator program that allows you basically to have mentors and then a whole bunch of awesome teachers inside there that can teach you how to pitch and how to get ready for everything that you're doing. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll take maybe one more question if we have one.
John, how do we become you? I want to be you.
Drew,
that wasn't a joke.
It's not a joke? Okay.
So always laughing.
Start with the hat, then grow the
So
beard.
you got to wear a pitch hat. So that means we got to send you one in the mail.
Don't wait on that.
he's like, I'm not waiting on that anymore. We owe him a hat for a long time. We got to push that. We got to push that. You got to grow a beard. You'll need beard oil. Got to get beard oil. You got to listen to a lot of self-development and knowledge and human behavior stuff all day long for a good few years.
I told my parents it's okay.
Yeah. I did see a question here, guys. And I don't know what you guys think about this because I'm looking at the live comments and maybe you guys can actually answer this one right here because he's talking about it. So regulatory technology and consulting company wants to change the way that world does business and everything like that. So they kind of want to know like how regulatory issues can be there for regulatory solutions and how can they meet compliance. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Cope with the technology and the demands that regulation brings to businesses in the area is basically what he's saying here.
Yeah. Can you guys?
Yeah. So what I'll say about that is there needs to be a balance. Okay, because the regulations can't be a hindrance to innovation. There needs to be a balance, and I think that's part of the process from my understanding with the financial regulators, the SEC, et cetera. They're looking to strike a balance because they don't want to stop people from creating innovative technology. They don't want to stop people from using blockchain, but they do want to prevent people from taking advantage of what they call a Main Street investor, the common person, the unaccredited investor. Okay, this is not the person that knows what they're doing and has a bunch of wealth. This is the everyday person that is being duped by a lot of companies, and they want to prevent the duping from going on. So, it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some thought. It's going to take some adaptability, kind of like what we talked about earlier. I mean, the regulators are going to have to really get their hands dirty and figure out the best solution that strikes that balance, so that people are not hindered into trying to innovate because of all the money and regulatory hoops they have to jump through, but they're actually interested and there is a path to it. And yes, they may have to have lawyers during the process, but it's not an expensive and efficient process like it is now, in my opinion.
Well, it's going to take a lot of cases and actual cases coming before the court. Unfortunately, the reality is you're going to have to see people being duped. You're going to have to see these bad actors in court because it forces courts, it forces authorities, and it ultimately forces the SEC to start putting out decisions and guidelines for people. That's the only way to do it. And it sucks. But if they have to play big bad wolf to be able to slowly shape the boundaries of a new animal, then of course that's what has to happen.
Yeah. And I coming from like the entrepreneur side, like, and I'll speak up for like a lot of like startup companies and like entrepreneurs where we're like, man, you know what, like what's the SEC doing? And like they're hindering our technological advancements and everything like that. And I totally get that, you know, but at the very same time, like there has to be a balance, right? I always talk about the whole balancing act, and the USA is acting a little bit of a balance to some of the other countries that are just outlandishly letting the technology run rampant, because there are people getting ripped off and there are people basically getting taken advantage of. So there has to be a balance between the scales, and there is going to be a level of evolution where it has to stay put. And then I think in the future, what would be very beneficial is to really start getting some younger generation regulators inside that understand technology at a very high level. And I believe that that's one of the things that there's not too much of a balance of. You have a lot of these regulators that they're an older generation that just don't get it. So it's going to take us to be able to start putting the people in place in the regulatory positions to be able to know, hey, this is a technology that can truly evolve and do it well. How do we speed up the process and make sure at the same time people are not getting taken advantage of, like the mass investors? So I totally get it too. As much as I would love to rampantly go as fast as we can, there is problems when you go so fast, because you know you will have bad actors come into play and do bad malicious things.
100%.
Well, John, we thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to have you on screen. We're thankful that you have entrusted us with your brand, both you and Matt. So thank you.
Yeah, you guys are badasses, you know, so I'm glad that you guys are doing an amazing job here, and I'm grateful for both of you guys and everything that you've done to make this, you know, like a cool show and, you know, gaining popularity and everything like that. So I'm very happy about it. And I think we're doing a great job in totality with it all. And I'm very grateful for you guys to like handle this amazing show and, you know, just have some cool people on here too. It seems like we're getting cooler and cooler people as time goes on. So great job, guys.
But you know, and we got a very special guest coming up next week. I don't want to spoil it, but for those of you who like the Shark Tanks or maybe the Dragon's Den, we do have a very, very special investor coming on next week. So,
awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you, John.
Everybody, tune in next week for episode 11, and like Drew kind of mentioned, we have a pretty big one coming. So definitely want to check it out. So we'll see you guys next time.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
boys. Thank you, everybody. Have a great one.